Talk. I'm Lonell Williams. Have I got a treat for you today? Joining me in bed, the handsome, sexy, talented Freddy the Body. Freddy the Body. Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that. In fact, we're going to open up with that. Welcome to Pillow Talk, Freddy.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It is an absolute pleasure. Okay, yeah. Now, when I first discovered you and started following your blog, I kind of understand what Freddy the Body is. But when I tell people, oh, I'm going to have Freddy the Body on there, who names himself that, and what is that? Can you explain the name?
Well, simply, Freddy the Body is really just an alter ego. What created Freddy the Body was I have a friend who's a bar manager at a club, and he asked me to promote a party with him. And the first thing he said was, well, you know, you're going to have to use Facebook to promote. And I have a personal profile on Facebook that's, you know, for my family and for my friends and schoolmates and things like that. So when he said, you're going to have to use Facebook to promote, I said, I don't have a problem with that, but I'm not going to use my personal profile to do that. So I created, you know, this extra profile, second profile. I had all these, you know, modeling shots of me half naked, so I was like, hey, let's put these to good use. So
thank you, we appreciate that.
Right. So and then, you know, I was thinking about, okay, what will my name be? So I've always been a professional wrestling fan. So I'm sure you're familiar with a former wrestler. He used to be governor of Minnesota, Jesse the Body Ventura. So he was the first person that popped into my head. So I was like, let's go with Freddy the Body.
One of the things I like that you said owning who you are first.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that? I mean, I know what that means to me, but
well, it's interesting. I do a lot of reading, and so I'm into, you know, energy, and I'm good at reading energy, and I'm in tune with my own energy. Yeah. So I'm very in tune with my own energy, and I listen to my higher self.
So you wouldn't consider yourself religious then?
I wouldn't consider myself religious. I have a religious background. I do consider myself spiritual. I do feel that I have had an experience with God or with a higher power, but the organized religion part, where man comes into the whole picture, that's the part.
But that isn't your background.
But that isn't my background.
So how did you transition to a point of spirituality where you could still find time and space for this higher being in your life, but not clinging onto those ideas of the past? How did you get to that?
Well, that's sort of a longer story, but you know, I'll just say that, you know, I've been through a lot in my life, and you know, certain events that happened in my life in my past sort of quickly got me to a point where, you know, I started to sort of question man's involvement in the whole scheme of things. Being an artist as well, and sort of searching for, you know, inspiration and that sort of thing, just kind of, I think it was inevitable that I would get to that point.
That's very attractive to me, because a lot of men, especially a lot of African American men, we don't really always get that right away. Mm-hmm. What would you say to somebody who's young and struggling maybe with their spirituality and their sexuality to kind of find that peace?
Well, I always say that every man has his own journey, and, you know, in our community, you know, there's this whole thing with, you know, people trying to out other people and that sort of thing. That's a bit much for me. So I would, you know, say to any youngster, you know, to just, you know, be yourself, continue on. You know, your journey is your journey, and it's no one else's place to judge or tell you what you should be. You know, be who you are. And going to an earlier conversation, that's part of owning yourself. Right. You know, be who you are, own who you are, and the right people will love you and accept you for who you are.
Now, you just mentioned something that I think is very critical that a lot of people do, which I don't agree with always, is outing other people. Mm-hmm. Like, we're outing politicians, we're trying to out celebrities, your neighbors. If you know somebody, I mean, is definitely like in the life, maybe they're living on the down low or whatever. Why can't we allow them to have their own experience? You know what I'm saying? Why do we feel so eager to? Why do you think we feel so eager to always out somebody?
I think it's a certain level of insecurity. You know, if you're not, again, if you're not taking ownership of yourself, right, and you know, if you have insecurity, your own insecurities about who you are and that sort of thing, then you're going to try to, in your mind, drag people down with you, because you have some sort of way resolved in your mind that, it's something is wrong with being gay, or not necessarily wrong, but there's an issue with it. So you're going to try to bring people down to, your level, per se.
What goes around comes around.
Exactly.
And the same people you climb over on the way up are the same ones you're going to trip over on the way down.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, really, I mean, because sometimes, I mean, I know back in the day, in the Stone Ages, when I came out, or was coming out, it wasn't about outing people, but we also didn't have the internet then also, but it was like, wow, somebody else, if you realize, I realized like one of my coworkers I saw out of the club, and I was actually relieved, because it was like, I'm not the only gay person in the world, yay.
Right.
But I think just, I don't know, we've taken it to the extreme, I think, a little bit now.
One of my favorite artists is Lauryn Hill, and one of the things she said in her MTV Unplugged, I don't know if you...
Brilliant. People slept on that.
People slept on it.
I mean,
yeah. When you asked me earlier about, what made me transition from being more religious into more spiritual, that album changed my life, like, seriously.
Lyrically, that woman is untouchable.
Oh,
She is crazy as a loon. Or at least appears to be.
Right.
But lyrically...
But she's aware she's crazy.
But, right, exactly. And that's the key.
She takes ownership of it.
She takes ownership of it right away. She said, it was one line of thing she was talking about, she talks to people in her head, and it's like, you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, where the line actually was, the view is that I'm crazy and deranged. Or no. The view is that I'm emotionally unstable, like you aren't.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So I applaud her for that. But still, to this day, I mean, lyrically, untouchable. I mean, just untouchable lyrically.
Yeah.
But
one of the things that she said at the end of the performance was, if you give yourself up, no one can blackmail you with anything. And I think that's, if you're so insecure about yourself that you're not willing to take ownership of who you are and confess who you are, then that's when people are going to try to come in and sort of out you.
Right.
I came out to I would never really consider myself in a closet per se, but when people would ask me, "Are you out?" my answer up until about a year and a half ago was always, "Well, I'm not in the closet, but my family and I haven't had that conversation."
Right.
But we finally did have the conversation about a year and a half ago, and they've been absolutely, completely supportive, and it's been a blessing. That I knew my mom would understand. My dad, on the other hand, I kind of thought he would have a little bit of a time processing, but he's cool, and we're probably closer now than we ever were, and that's truly a blessing, because I've heard I've heard horror stories of friends who their fathers disowned them and all this kind of stuff, which is really sad.
Have you taken someone that you dated seriously or whatever? Have you taken them home to meet your family?
No. Well, I've only had one boyfriend, and that relationship didn't last very long. But it was that relationship that caused me to feel comfortable enough to have the conversation with my family, because I always said that if I was ever in a relationship, then I would probably be in a position where I felt like having the conversation.
Right.
So sure enough, when I did finally get into that first relationship, I was like, I think it's time.
Now you do modeling, because you were in New York prior. You were the model for 21 to Drink, for a lot of their promotional campaigns. And what is that like when you're out there in such a physically stunning kind of way? And people react to you differently. Obviously, a lot of it's lust. I mean, it's they're just like attracted to you physically. But how do you handle that?
Well, I mean, it's just really part of the game. It's part of this. Goes with the territory. It's really interesting. I pursued modeling. I started pursuing modeling when I was in college, and I was actually signed to an agent in Niagara Falls, Canada, for about 5 years, but nothing really happened with that, because he was in Canada, and I'm originally from Louisiana, and I was in Louisiana at the time. I went to school in Louisiana, so nothing really happened once I got signed. So I just kind of put it on the back burner and just, I need to live life, live a real life first. Then when I moved to New York 4.5 years ago, I was like, well, since I'm in New York, I may as well give it one last go. So I did that for about 2 or 3 years, and finally decided that it was time to sort of hang it up. And I'm 30 years old now. I'm not the fresh face anymore that they're looking for, and plus I was just kind of over it. So I announced my retirement from modeling. And sure enough, as soon as I did that, that's when everybody started, my best friend started, asking me to be his spokesmodel for his underwear line, Couture Boy. So I'm his.
I see you are sporting.
I'm sporting now, yeah. So I'm his lead model for Couture Boy, and I'm also a model in the Inferno Dominican Republic campaign. Yes. So, and like you said, I also do some modeling for 21 to Drink in our Crash Weekend. I think that a lot of people have issues with marriage in general.
Right.
But to me, the issue is not, whether you would personally get married. It's about having the option. Everyone should have the option to be able to get married if they so choose.
Amen.
Yeah. So, like I actually posted on Facebook not too long ago. I said, a common phrase or a common saying now is, marriage is between Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And my response is always, well, if your name ain't Adam, why the fuck you worried about it?
Okay. And for the record, it's between Adam, Steve, and Eve.
Okay.
Get into it. But I think that, it's major. Not, like you said, it's about having the option to do it. And why should I be penalized and not have all the benefits of the law that you do?
Right.
Now, if you don't want to marry a gay couple, then don't marry a gay couple.
Exactly.
But don't try to deny me. Don't try to persecute me with your religious dogma.
I have a lot of gay friends who don't think that gays should be married.
And that's fine. But
and that's completely fine. But if you don't want to be married, then don't get married.
Married, right. But don't deny someone else the rights under the law that other people have.
Exactly.
Now, one of the other talents you have, besides modeling, is singing.
Yes.
And people don't know, unless they follow your blog, of course, that you auditioned for American Idol. And it was funny because of one particular entry that I read where you were talking about the season of it almost sounds a little bitter.
I was a little bitter at first, but especially having auditioned 2 years in a row and not having made it past the first round. But at the end of the day, I had to realize, American Idol is not really a talent competition. It's a reality TV show. And once I came to that realization, then it was easier for me to, just kind of put that in the past and let that be and just continue to move forward. I didn't let that validate me or invalidate me.
Gotcha. I think I want to do a little either or with Freddy the Body. It's been a while since I've done some of it. You game for that, little of that?
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just rattle them off. Uptown or downtown?
Uptown.
Beyonce or Gaga?
Beyonce.
Size of the ship or motion in the ocean?
Motion in the ocean, definitely.
Eddie Long or Donnie McClurkin?
We're gonna go with Miss McClurkin.
Oh, Michelle Obama or Oprah Winfrey?
I have to go with our first lady.
And last but not least, top or bottom?
First.
There you have it. And in closing, I do want to ask one question that my all-time favorite Oprah Winfrey always asks her guests. What do you know for sure?
One thing that I know for sure is that nothing is for certain.
I want to thank you so much for climbing in bed and hanging out with me and continued success.
Thank you.
I will definitely be looking for a lot more for you in the future.
Oh, there's definitely more to come.
Yes. So if you have not subscribed or liked his Facebook page, the link is right down below. So make sure you do that and show Freddy the Body some more love, like you've shown us. And I just appreciate you again. Like I said, you just got it together. I mean, spiritually sound.
I try.
Physically sound. Complete a sentence. I was like, I want to thank you all for tuning in to Pillow Talk. I'm Lonell Williams, always.